375-2987 or the Vikings ticket office at 333-8828 and reserve your seats now for the Vikings preseason action against the Indianapolis Colts. Tickets are selling fast, so call now.
Weekdays, they're single.
That's our number 2.
Here I am.
Innovative.
I look a lot like Billy D. Williams, and I don't look a whole lot like Shirley Temple.
And very, very creative.
We put the soles of our feet together after I licked them.
This is courtship in America.
You're beautiful. I don't know. I love you. That's a good one. I lie all the time. I enjoy lying.
On the all-new dating game.
I'm Elaine Joyce. Join us on Channel 4.
You are watching WCCO Television, Minneapolis, St. Paul. The Twin Cities' most watched newscasts. With Pat Miles, Don Shelby, Mike Fairborn has weather, and Mark Rosen with sports. And now, this is the 10 p.m. report.
Good evening, everyone. Mike Walsher is joining us tonight for Don Shelby, and tonight, 2 Twin Cities military men.
Their trials and their triumphs. Chris Ryden of Minneapolis, a happy welcome home today after his days aboard the USS Stark. And St. Paul Marine Clayton Lone Tree, caught in an espionage trial, which tonight has taken a turn against him.
Clayton Lone Tree's confessions of espionage can be used as evidence in his court-martial. That ruling by a military judge in Quantico, Virginia. Tonight, it comes as a major blow to the former embassy guard's defense. The judge ruled against Lone Tree's attorneys who had claimed their client was coerced into admitting he passed secret documents to the Soviets in Moscow. The judge said Lone Tree was an intelligent adult, not one who was unduly susceptible to interrogation techniques when questioned by investigators. Scrapping the confessions would have destroyed the government's case against the St. Paul native, according to the judge. For the first time in this hearing, Lone Tree took the stand today. It was part of a defense move to free him from solitary confinement at the Quantico Marine Base. The judge says he will also recommend that Lone Tree be granted more freedom.
Tonight, a Minneapolis sailor is back from a hellish experience in the Middle East. Christopher Ryden was on board the USS Stark last May 17th when an Iraqi missile tore into the superstructure and claimed 37 American lives. Today, that ship arrived at its home port in Florida, still bearing some damage from the attack. But this was a happy occasion. Bands played, and soldiers who survived were reunited with friends and family for the first time in 6 months. Chris Ryden saw the missile hit the Stark.
There was panic and confusion for about maybe 10, 15 minutes. Once everybody realized what had happened, they started getting organized and fighting the fires right away, get them under control.
Christopher Ryden will visit his family in Minneapolis on August 22nd. Then it's back to the Stark and duty on board the Stark until 1989.
An armed intruder was shot and killed after bolting past security guards at the Pentagon this morning. The incident happened just 1 floor below the office of Defense Secretary Weinberger, who was having breakfast with Secretary of State Schultz at the time. One bystander says the man had been mumbling something about the MX missile and then pulled out a gun when asked for an ID. He was shot by a guard after ignoring repeated demands to get out. The man was identified as 50-year-old Dwayne Wallace of Youngstown, Ohio. If President Reagan wants to talk peace, Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega says he'll talk peace. Ortega says his negotiators are ready to sit down anywhere, Washington, Managua, or elsewhere, to discuss the administration's latest Central American peace proposal. If the president refuses face-to-face talks, though, Ortega says that would prove the proposal is just so much posturing to appease Congress.
The federal officials who watch over the airlines are sending out a message tonight to the people who run them. The head of the Federal Aviation Administration says he wants airline executives to make sure the carriers are properly maintaining their planes. He wants the public to know that airline executives feel personally responsible for that maintenance. The FAA is blaming mechanical problems for many of the recent airline delays. Northwest Airlines is trying a tactic that journalists often use to get information out of the federal government. The airline has filed a Freedom of Information Act with the Department of Transportation. Northwest wants to obtain the records of consumer complaints that have been filed by unhappy passengers. Cindy Hilger joins us now in our newsroom, and she has more on this story. Cindy?
Well, Mike, Northwest says it has tried 4 times to get a list of complaints filed by angry consumers. But each time, the Department of Transportation has denied the request, saying it's a privacy issue and it would be unfair to release the names of those who have complained. So that's why Northwest has decided to file a Freedom of Information action.
I was an hour and a half late coming in. I'm 2 hours late going out. Yeah, that's right.
It's no secret Northwest has had its share of problems since it merged with Republic Airlines. In fact, the Department of Transportation says Northwest ranks second behind Continental in the number of passenger complaints that have been sent to the DOT. It's those complaints that Northwest is trying to get a hold of.
We have our information, and yes, we have a lot of correspondence with our customers, but we also want that correspondence. We don't know what it is out there. We want the information, we want to research it, we want to study it, we want to react to it.
Northwest believes if it can read the complaints, it can take action to correct some of the problems. But the DOT wonders if Northwest will only use the names as a marketing tool.
What we don't want to do is give Carrier A the names of all the people that have complained against his competitor and let them use that for marketing purposes. We think it's a rather poor use of federal dollars to provide names of complainants to competing airlines so that they can all write nice letters.
Northwest says that's ridiculous.
We can't solve a problem if we don't have the information.
Northwest says it hopes to receive the complaints, names included, in the next 10 days. The Department of Transportation will only say that it will come up with a satisfactory solution, one that will make Northwest and the angry passengers happy. Mike?
All right, thank you, Cindy. Tonight, the Minneapolis Community Development Agency wants to know how a 32-year-old woman died in an elevator shaft and if a fire crew did all it could to find her body. Mary Gilliard apparently plunged 10 stories to her death on Saturday while trying to escape an elevator stuck between floors. A fire crew was called then, but failed to check the bottom of the shaft. Gilliard's body lay there for more than 3 days till it was recovered yesterday. It happened in a public housing high-rise, and the development agency will investigate the death and whether the fire crew was negligent. And the state health department wants some answers, too, from the veterans' home. It wants to know why a doctor wasn't called when a patient vomited a substance believed to be human feces. The man later died. The health department may refer that case for criminal prosecution. Meantime, the Commissioner of Veterans Affairs, William Gregg, says the problems at the vet's home are being exaggerated.
Tomorrow, a Minnesota lawmaker will face a prostitution-related charge in Ramsey District Court. DFL Representative Kenneth Clute was arrested in June, allegedly for soliciting an undercover policewoman. Clute now says he is receiving counseling for alcoholism and is also going to family counseling in his hometown of Moorhead. But he still maintains he is not guilty of prostitution, and he plans to have his attorney enter a not guilty plea tomorrow. A request for more than $39 million in federal disaster aid for Minnesota flood victims has been delayed yet another day. Members of the Minnesota congressional delegation say President Reagan was just too busy with the Nicaraguan peace plan to consider the aid request, but he is expected to approve it sometime tomorrow. St. Paul firefighters marched on City Hall today to protest a pay discrepancy. They dispute the city's wage study, which stated that police officers should receive about $4,000 more than the firefighters in the next 3 years. The city council today passed the wage increase for the police officers.
Baseball officials are not believing Joe Niekro's story about why he carried an emery board and some sandpaper onto the mound in Monday night's game. They have suspended him for 10 days. Mark Rosen joins us now with details. I guess it's not real surprising.
Not at all, Mike. American League President Bobby Brown handed down the suspension after reviewing the umpire's report, examining 5 baseballs, the infamous emery board, and a videotape of the game. The official explanation, Joe Niekro pitched a defaced baseball to the league office. Niekro immediately appealed the suspension, so he will be able to pitch for the Twins until his hearing, date not yet announced. In fact, Niekro is scheduled to be the starting pitcher Friday night at the Dome against the Oakland A's. Niekro said he's always carried an emery board and a piece of sandpaper with him to the mound, saying he sometimes has to file his nails between innings to make his knuckleball more effective. He is the first player to be suspended for doctoring a baseball since Gaylord Perry was suspended for 10 days in 1982. To make matters worse for the Twins, they ended their long road trip losing 6-1 to the Angels, dropping the Twins into a virtual tie for first place with the Oakland A's. And we'll hear from Joe Niekro about the suspension a little bit later in sports, and I promise you we will not see that videotape again.
Okay, I wouldn't. But the Twins better get their minds back on baseball. They're coming back home now and start winning some games.
They have to. It's times, the season's really just starting for the Twins tomorrow night.
He's become a national celebrity.
Yes, he has. For all the wrong reasons.
All right, thank you, Mark. Still to come on the 10 p.m. report, the State Attorney General doesn't like what he hears about a St. Cloud hearing aid company.
But in Brainerd, the residents do like what they are tasting when they turn on the tap. And the grass is always crabbier in your own backyard, especially this summer.
I don't care how many kinds of bacon you've tried. I'll bet you've never tasted one as rich and smoky as this one. Hillshire Farm Country Smoked Bacon. It's no ordinary bacon. It even smells smoky because it's cured slow and country smoked in natural hardwoods. So go ahead. Try all the bacon you want. Just make sure you save room for the good stuff.
Hillshire Farm Bacon. Country smoked flavor no ordinary bacon can match.
Ah, this is Minnesota at its finest, the outdoors. Hello, everyone. I'm Ralph John Fritz, inviting you to Minnesota's first ever Hunting and Conservation Show. It's a unique event. It's sponsored by WCCO Television and Radio, and it's the sports show designed especially for hunters, and all the experts will be there, so come on down.
The Minnesota Hunting and Conservation Show at Met Center, August 13th through 16th. Sponsored by these organizations.
Imagine everything you ever wanted from a store. Imagine a huge selection and great service. Imagine a store where lowest prices aren't just talk, they're guaranteed in writing. Now watch the dream become reality. It's Best Buy Superstores. If you thought all stores were created equal, think again. For the best service, best selection, and guaranteed lowest prices, shop Best Buy Superstores.
Watch the Minnesota Twins play their exciting brand of baseball as they chase the American League pennant. Join the excitement August 6th and 7th for a special pay-per-view event as the Oakland Athletics come to the Metrodome to face the Minnesota Twins. Order your Minnesota Twins games today. Sponsored by Budweiser. Call your local cable operator to order the Twins versus Oakland August 6th and 7th, a Twins Vision pay-per-view event.
A kiss on the hand may be quite continental, but diamonds are a girl's best friend.
It was 25 years ago tonight that sex symbol Marilyn Monroe died. Today, a memorial service was held at her gravesite in California. Well-wishers, many teenage girls, brought flowers to mark the blonde star's death. Monroe died alone on a Saturday night in 1962 of a barbiturate overdose. She was 36 years old. Marilyn Monroe's death was officially listed as a suicide.
Two studies out tonight show promise in the fight against the most severe form of muscular dystrophy. They demonstrate that muscle deterioration can be slowed in patients with the Duchenne strain of MD by using a drug called prednisone. The New England Journal of Medicine reports a common blood test may now be used to help identify pregnant young women whose babies will have Down syndrome. A more involved test called amniocentesis is routinely used on pregnant women over age 35 to detect Down syndrome. Now, researchers say the blood test can show which younger women should undergo amniocentesis. Scientists in New York say they've made an important step toward a vaccine against AIDS. They've deciphered the genetic code of a virus that causes AIDS in monkeys. Researchers will now be able to break down the virus, develop its vaccine, and test that on the monkeys. The Precision Hearing Aids Services Company of St. Cloud tonight faces a lawsuit filed by the state of Minnesota. Attorney General Skip Humphrey says the firm tricked senior citizens into buying hearing aids before getting medical exams.
Tonight, residents in Brainerd may safely drink their water. Last week, though, bacteria was found in the water supply, and a warning went out to boil the water before drinking it. Chlorination got rid of the bacteria, but officials still don't know where it came from in the first place. Well, some of it's growing here. This has cropped up early this summer, and as most with lawn snow, the crabgrass is growing like mad. We've had to mow down here all night.
You betcha. It's just growing like crazy. The new crabgrass crop is due to the recent heat wave and record rains. And as Debbie Ely reports, gardeners are out in force trying to beat this stubborn weed.
Sticks out like a sore thumb.
And it spreads rapidly. But it's not too pretty compared to nice green grass.
Bad. Very bad. Terrible.
Most of us don't like crabgrass, but it really likes our yards. Horticulturists say there's no more crabgrass than usual, but we're seeing it earlier because of recent hot, dry weather that caused good grass to go dormant and crabgrass to prosper. And now the weed has started to go to seed.
This time of the year, there isn't a very good solution. In fact, we think the best thing to do is to simply catch your clippings if possible. What that does is it reduces the amount of seed that drops back into the ground for next year.
Deborah Brown says homeowners with thick, healthy grass can discourage crabgrass. She adds that crabgrass killer is not as effective now as it is in the spring, before crabgrass seeds sprout. Still, that has not slowed crabgrass killer sales at local garden centers.
We only have 3 bottles now. We just sold another, and there's more on the way.
And if you think you've got problems, imagine having to deal with acres of crabgrass. The people who take care of this lawn say there's not much they can do until next spring, just in time for next year's golf season. Debbie Ely, WCCO Television News.
Well, the rains have helped the crabgrass crop, but the flooding has done permanent damage to some area lawns and trees.
As a rule, if the grass is submerged underwater for more than 2 days, it will likely die. As for trees, though, some types are more susceptible to water damage. If you'd like more information about this, you could call the Dial U Plant Information Service at 1-976-0200. That's between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. on the weekdays, and there is a $2 charge for the call. Among the items now still to come tonight, Mike Fairborn's look at the thunderstorms heading our way. St. Paul artists are honored for their storefront contributions, and we will look at what Twin Cities homes may be like in years to come.
Hi, I'm Bob. I'm Bud. I'm Bill. And I'm Biff. Mother always treats Biff the best.
Welcome to the Big Goodyear sale on our best all-season radials. Buy 3 tires at the regular price. The 4th tire is free. Choose from Goodyear's high-performance all-season Eagle GT Plus 4 or all-season Vectors.
We'll take 3 Vectors.
What about the 4th tire?
The 4th tire is free. That's for Biff.
See your participating Minneapolis-St. Paul area Goodyear retailer. Sale ends August 11th.
Friends, I'm here to help. But masked men, we always use regular. There comes a time when even regular folks must turn to silver.
But why silver?
I don't know, ma'am, but I don't have to. My car knows.
For better performance than regular unleadeds, try pure Amoco Silver.
And we didn't even get to thank him.
Neither did our car. Oh, silver! Away!
You want Viking tickets? You got them. But you gotta act fast. Regular season Viking tickets are still available by mail order from the Viking ticket office. In the Dome, at home, don't miss a play, don't miss the action. But you gotta act fast. 4 games are already sold out. So be there with us this season in the Dome. Call the Viking ticket office at 333-8828 and reserve your seats for 1987 Viking football action at the Metrodome.
Are prostitutes the same as surrogate mothers? Both rent their bodies for money. Should they be equal under the law? Next on it.
Thursday morning at 8 on Channel 4.
The spree of freeway shootings in Southern California may be spreading to the skies overhead. The pilot of a small plane tells the FAA that another pilot pointed a gun at him in the air south of Los Angeles. No shots were fired, but aviation officials worry that this incident will give others the same idea.
Police in Bayshore, New York, staged a snake attack on a home today, and a 300-pound python was among the reptiles they found there. The raid also netted 6 rattlesnakes, 2 cobras, and a rhino viper. 2 people living in the house are charged with illegal possession of wildlife. And in Louisiana today, an irresistible barge met an immovable barge along the Mississippi. Actually, it was a crane mounted atop the barge that smacked into the bridge and caused the barge to get stuck, forcing both the bridge and the river to be closed off to all of the traffic. Did you understand that?
Yes. The barge bashed the bridge.
Right, something like that.
Anyway.
Well, we had a near-perfect day, didn't we, today?
Ideal. 79 degrees for high, low humidities, light wind, sunshine, everything you could ask for. Unfortunately, things do have to change in the weather, and we've been watching an area of showers and thunderstorms developing out in the Dakotas, kind of an innocuous-looking little system, then all of a sudden just boom, big thunderstorms just popped up over the central part of North and South Dakota, started spreading the clouds eastward into the central part of the state of Minnesota, and for that reason, we've had some nasty weather out there. Take a look at Huron radar. This was about an hour ago. Some very heavy thunderstorms just southwest of Huron, also near Aberdeen, also moving across the North and South Dakota border into Minnesota. And that activity is already beginning to spread into us. Live radar shows a little cluster of showers up around Alexandria, another one down between Redwood Falls and the border. Much of this activity is weakening and dissipating as it's moving into the state, but nevertheless, still some thunderstorms out there, and they are moving in our direction. Now, we had 2 watches in effect until about 5 minutes ago. One for 2 a.m. For a big portion of northwestern and west central Minnesota until 2 a.m. That was a severe thunderstorm watch. And then the tornado watch that was in effect for west central and southwest Minnesota was just canceled. So that's no longer in effect. Much of that activity, as we said, is weakening. They're going to let this one continue, though, until 2 a.m. But the one that was down for southwest, the tornado watch, has now been canceled. That means the southern part of the state's pretty much in the clear. A lot of heat out in the Dakotas today. Little bubble of 100s, 90s, right up to the border of the Dakotas and Minnesota. Of course, we ended up in the upper 70s here for our temperature, but a little cooler up to the north. Some of that heat is going to work its way into us, but not all of it. We're going to get up into the 80s tomorrow and then just kind of level off. 79 for a high today, 57 for an overnight low. No precipitation in the past 24 hours. Take a look at the weather map for tomorrow. The cool front that's out in the Dakotas right now is going to push on to the east. That's going to allow moisture to come up ahead of it. That's going to allow more humidity to come up ahead of it. That's going to allow enough moisture for shower and thunderstorms to develop along the leading edge of it. And that's going to come through us sometime tomorrow afternoon. Depending upon the timing, we could get some more thunderstorm activity here by tomorrow afternoon. If it comes in a little bit earlier and passes on through the state, it'll be the southeastern corner of the state and over into Wisconsin where all the trouble will be tomorrow night. We just kind of have to watch it. High temperatures will climb up into the low 80s tomorrow, 70s up to the north. The real heat, though, is going to be squashed on down to the south, 90s throughout parts of Nebraska and southwestern Iowa. We're cloudy now. Those high, thin clouds from the thunderstorms have spread across the city. Temperature 70 degrees, humidity 71%, wind southeast at 9, dew point 60, barometer 29.89, and it's rising. Our forecast, partly cloudy. We still have a chance of some thunderstorms in here toward morning, a low of 63 degrees for tomorrow. Warmer, more humid, still a chance of showers and thunderstorms, 86 degrees for high, south to southeast winds at 10 to 20. Then tomorrow night, the front will pass on through. We'll turn partly cloudy, drop down to 62 degrees for an overnight low and not be quite as warm on Friday, partly cloudy and cooler with 81. The weekend right now is looking fantastic. The front will have moved through. We'll have a couple of days before showers and thunderstorms start to build back up on Monday, and the temperatures will slowly climb out of the upper 70s back up into the mid-80s by Monday. So the weekend's looking nice.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. 18 artists who helped brighten up St. Paul's 7th Place Mall received a thank you tonight. A reception was held to honor those who created these spontaneous storefronts, which are artistic displays filling up what were once vacant storefront windows. The participating artists are credited with adding new life to the vital corridor that connects Rice Park with the new Minnesota World Trade Center.
In a moment, a trip back to the past and a trip into the future. You might be surprised to see some of the gizmos you could have in your home someday soon.
Some very busy people are starting to switch gasolines because many gasolines don't have enough detergent to keep their fuel injectors or carburetor clean and running smooth. They're switching to Phillips 66 Super Clean Unleaded and Super Clean Premium Unleaded. As little as one tank full can clean your engine to run like new. And if you don't switch to Phillips 66 Super Clean Unleaded gasolines, somebody else may clean up. Super Clean Unleaded gasolines. Clean up and keep clean gasolines from Phillips 66.
This October, join WCCO Television and Holiday Travel in California. See San Francisco, Los Angeles, and in San Diego, we'll relax at the tropical Hanalei Hotel. We'll enjoy dinner and a show during our stay at Lawrence Welk Village. 8-day tours depart either October 1st or 29th. For your free brochure, call the WCCO California hotline, weekdays 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. 1-800-826-2266.
Be at the Dome Saturday, August 22nd, as we kick off our home schedule with a preseason game against the Indianapolis Colts. Get your first look at the Vikings as we gear up for what should be an exciting season. Come to the Dome and enjoy Vikings football. Call Dayton's at 375-2987 or the Vikings ticket office at 333-8828 and reserve your seats now for the Vikings preseason action against the Indianapolis Colts. Tickets are selling fast, so call now.
There was a whole lot of shaking going on in St. Paul today where aspiring waiters and waitresses were trying out for jobs at a new Back to the 50s restaurant opening in the St. Paul Center. This restaurant, called Heartthrob, will feature roller skating soda jerks and dancing waitresses. Those who made today's cut will now embark on a 30-hour training program to recreate some American nostalgia.
Much as the diner was part of the 1950s, computers will dominate homes of the 1990s. Automated abodes will cater to a more health-conscious society where both parents work outside the home. And the future homes will help the elderly take better care of themselves. Business reporter Alan Cox now takes us on the first tour of Honeywell's Home of the Future in Golden Valley.
It looks like the typical new home, clean design, a lot of TV sets perhaps. The intent of the designers is to keep most of the magic hidden.
The only problem with this house is its address. It doesn't have one. It was built inside a Honeywell research facility in Golden Valley. The closest thing to an address for this house may be the near future.
Engineers call this a smart home, and it knows several tricks. Motion detectors automatically turn on lights and fans, automatically turn them off after the person leaves. Television sets can interrupt this program with a small picture if the camera on the front porch picks up a lurking stranger. Smoke detectors bark instructions.
Fire and then leave the house.
A lot of electronics are required, a mile of wire in this home, much of it connected to sophisticated wall outlets. But the idea of the test is to shrink it all down.
The automated home is more comfortable to live in, it's safer, it's secure, and it saves you a little more money.
Will people pay for all this? Honeywell came up with a version of this room control 10 years ago, but decided the demand wasn't there. Now the company says a lot of people in the market for a $100,000 home would pay another $4,000 for some version of this.
And a high percentage said they'd be interested in having those in there to get the added safety and comfort and convenience.
Honeywell is in a race with other manufacturers, many of them Japanese, all trying to come up with a home that's smart, that will sell, and the thing you've got to worry about in a high-tech world, a home that won't break. Alan Cox, WCCO Television News, Golden Valley.
Alan also tells us that in the future, as you leave your home, all you have to do is yell out, "Hey, I'm leaving," and all the doors will lock themselves behind you. I don't know if I like it. It sounds like Hal the Computer in 2001.
I'm afraid they'd lie when I say I'm coming in. Coming up next, the Twins' future includes a trip home tonight. Mark Rosen with that story, and a fight to play in the middle of the Vikings' defensive line. Up next.
Okay, now the first thing you do when cleaning fuel injectors is to make sure you have plenty of Conoco unleaded gasoline. Yeah.
Conoco's unleaded gasolines with Power Scrub clean your engine's fuel system.
All right, then you spray the left.
So your car runs smoother.
And then you scrub to the right.
With more power.
And then you fire! Any questions?
Get Power Scrubbed with Conoco unleaded gasolines.
It's your call. You can enjoy the fresh-baked quality from Domino's Pizza or take your chances with the Noid. So make the call and taste all the quality from Domino's Pizza. Avoid the Noid. Domino's Pizza delivers. Call now.
Call Domino's Pizza, ask for the Beat the Heat special, a six-pack of icy cold Coke for just 99 cents with any pizza. Beat the heat this summer with Domino's Pizza.
Stauffer Seeds, America's fastest-growing seed company. Pride, the biggest little seed company in the Northern Corn Belt. And Northrop King, with over 100 years of experience. Now these three companies are working together. Introducing the new Northrop King, the second largest seed company in America, bringing you seeds and service that are second to none. The new Northrop King, the second largest seed company in America.
Well, the Twins are back in town, presumably, or just about so, from the big road trip, and not a real successful one.
Not really, to say the least. A little bit more on the Joe Niekro situation. He's really kind of playing a cat-and-mouse game with the league right now if he does indeed appeal that 10-day suspension. Niekro certainly wants to help the Twins pitching staff right now, but he also needs to complete his 10-day suspension before September the 1st, because if Niekro is not on the roster on that date, he would not be eligible for the playoffs. That's the dilemma Niekro discussed in Anaheim this afternoon.
Well, we talked about it, and depending on which way the rotation goes and whenever a hearing would be, and, we might have a hearing at the first part of September or end of March. I don't know when the hearing would be, but there's a situation maybe not be eligible for the playoffs, too. So if I'm not on the roster September 1st, I'll not be eligible for the playoffs. So we have to wait and see. That's about all I got to say.
Meanwhile, the Twins are tapping their heels, saying there's no place like the Dome. The Twins closed out their 13-game Western road trip with their 9th loss, 6-1 affair in California. After the Golden State Tour, the Twins are still in first place, but so are the Oakland A's. In fact, Oakland has them by a mere percentage point. The Angels are nipping on the heels a half game back. Look at this race. Kansas City 3 out of first, with Seattle and Texas staying within reach. Today, Bill Buckner haunted the Twins. He took a Bert Blyleman pitch barely into the Anaheim Stadium seats. This is the way it went for California today. A 3-run shot gave the Angels a 6-0 lead. Of course, Buckner showed an interest in the Twins, but California gave him a 2-year contract. John Candelaria made his first appearance since June the 16th. He sat out because of a pair of drunk driving arrests. He allowed just 2 hits in 6 innings. There was one redeeming play, however. Kirby Puckett is playing like Kirby the vacuum cleaner in center field. This one was over the fence, but he robs Jack Howell of a spectacular grab at the wall. This is getting to be a habit for the All-Star, who needs to pick up his hitting, though, as the Twins return home. And they'll be playing for first place tomorrow night, the start of their 4-game series with the Oakland A's at the Dome. Elsewhere, Oakland beat Seattle 3-1. Detroit over Kansas City 4-2. The Yankees over Cleveland. Toronto nipped the White Sox. It was Milwaukee 5-1 over Baltimore. And Boston 8-3 over Texas in the 7th inning. National League, the Mets over Philadelphia in the 5th. Montreal 2-1 over St. Louis in 13 innings. Pittsburgh shut out the Cubs. Cincinnati defeated the Dodgers. San Diego 7-3 over Atlanta. San Francisco leading Houston in the 9th. It's a daily battle in Mankato. Players fighting for a job and a paycheck. Your every move is scrutinized by the men controlling those purse strings, the coaching staff. Physical ability, attitude, and discipline is what you're graded on. One such battle is being waged for the starting defensive nose tackle position.
Go!
Job security, like a quarterback with good knees, is a rare commodity in the NFL. Just ask Tim Newton.
My job is always in jeopardy. I mean, football is like that, professional football. Your job, you never have a job. I mean, I just been in the spot the last couple years, so, I mean, like I said, I feel the best man gonna get the job, and I'm enjoying the competition.
But Newton can't be enjoying his demotion to number 3 on the depth chart. Veteran Mike Stensrud is listed number 1, while newcomer Henry Thomas out of LSU is number 2 for now.
Go! Go!
Henry Thomas has all the attributes of being a good nose tackle and maybe even an exceptional one. He's highly rated by the college guys. Right now he's showing that the guy has something a little special in him. So this year, we're not going to wait for Newton.
True to his nickname, Sergeant Rock, Peters is tough as nails on Newton.
Newt is a young man that has a problem. He's got to straighten out his personal life. On the field, he's inconsistent. He played some super games where he was the most valuable, this and that. And then he's played some games where he's just been totally out of tune and had problem with his assignments.
Meanwhile, Thomas walks that fine line between teammate as friend and foe.
When it's our turn to go, we go all out, you know. We don't hold anything back. But when the mistakes are made by any of us, we help each other because that's going to help the defense no matter who's here or who's gone. It's good competition. He was an excellent ball player. He understands the system better than I did last year at this time, so I think that's a plus for him.
After all, man against man is what camp is all about. Henry Thomas will be a good one to watch, but competition is what it's all about in Mankato. Of course, the Vikings have the passing scrimmage at the Metrodome, 7 o'clock camera night at the Dome this Sunday night.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mark, and that'll do it for the 10 p.m. report.
Let's take a look at tomorrow's weather for you. Warmer, possibility of some thunderstorms, and a high of 86 degrees. We hope you enjoy it. Good night, everyone.
The Channel
24 editorial on the Iran-Contra hearings with Ron Hamburg.
Somewhere in Washington, the Iran-Contra hearings are still in progress. Folks from the CIA are providing classified information behind closed doors. But the nationally televised real-life drama has ended, and we're back to soap operas and to covering the more mundane news of the world with something of a sigh of relief. For some people, it was simply too much, or so the letters and phone calls would suggest. Too boring, too political, too much public grandstanding to really do any good. While for others, it was fascinating, not to be missed, and incredibly important for setting the record straight. A frightening display of lies and deceit exposed for all to see. We took our chances in carrying the testimony even on days when the network didn't. But in retrospect, we're even more convinced now that what we did was right. Because from our perspective, these broadcasts are a prime example of what television does best, sharing a common experience in a way that allows viewers to watch and then reach their own conclusions, to decide if Ollie North was telling the truth, if Admiral Poindexter should have told the president, if Mr. Reagan would have approved, if only he'd known what was going on. All in all, it was a terrific refresher course in the workings of democracy and about principles we too often forget. Trusting the people to govern themselves, openly sharing information so voters can make wise decisions, demanding accountability of those in power, enjoying the freedom to debate who's right or wrong, exercising our system of checks and balances to at least limit abuses, if not prevent them altogether. Now, as you might expect, the analysts are busily looking for the winners and losers in the political arena. But we suspect years from now, you'll look back at these hearings and see that the real winners are ever so obvious. Democracy, the Constitution, and most of all, the American people. I'm Ron Hamburg.
We offer equal time for an opposing view.
We're Tim Russell
and Chris Ford,
movie critic Brian Lambert,
and from the Improv Theater in Los Angeles, Grant Turner
will be our guest tomorrow,
10 a.m. on CCO Radio.